we had your buddy Nate Greer on the other night for a nice conversation with Nate on
Saw that.
FSU recruiting. And I got to say that the bottom line with Nate seems to be that he has full faith that Mike Norvell knows how to coach. He knows how to run a team, knows how to run a program. So as long as he has enough talent and enough time, that he's going to be able to make it good. He's going to be able to run this program and get it to where it needs to be. The problem is that Nate seems to be concerned about is the recruiting going to be where it needs to be to give Norvell enough time to get the right players on the field and get this all working together, and just seems a bit concerned about where recruiting's heading right now.
Yeah, I watched a few of the videos so far, definitely talking about recruiting and where it could go and where it's not going right now. We kind of alluded to it earlier. What is going to change everything? Like we said, Norvell is able to do recruiting with the moms, the dads, they love him. The coaches love him. He's doing a great job in Florida and getting everywhere and getting over there to Louisiana a little bit and go over to the West Coast when they need to. And right now it seems like the only thing clicking for him, at least for elite, it's great to get some of these other guys that are definitely talented, but those are project guys. Those are guys that you're going to have to develop. Florida State back in the day was able to bring in guys like Ronald Darby, PJ Williams, Aligwe at linebacker. It goes all throughout the front there on the offensive line on who they're able to bring in. Rick Trickett was in his bag there with Jimbo on bringing some guys to help protect Jameis. Those are guys that you can count on. Really, in year one, you also had Jalen Ramsey too, and Jimbo didn't like starting a lot of young guys, but a lot of these guys could come in as immediate depth pieces, which, Florida State has lacked in the last couple of seasons. I think that's what hurts Florida State. But, I don't think Nate's wrong with saying, Mike Norvell is a very smart coach, definitely on the offensive side. I think I talked about this in that group chat earlier. I think it might surprise some people, but I think they'll be on board with me here. I think Kenny Dillingham and Mike Norvell weren't on the same alignment with some of their preps for some of these games, at least offensive play calling. Some weeks, boom, clicking, things are rocking. You're like, where in the hell did this come from? And then the next week, what are we doing here? You got to rely on the defensive side for Florida State to push through and win games. And, Florida State wasn't able to get down the field. I think that also, the cause for that too, your quarterback room was limited with Jordan Travis being hurt a little bit all throughout the season. But now, this is Mike Norvell's offense. This isn't Alex Atkins. There's no other offensive coordinator for Florida State. I understand that, Alex Atkins gets promoted here, but, Mike Norvell is going to be calling the plays. This is his system. This is what he'll draw up. Yes, Coach Atkins and them, they'll work together on this. But I think, listening to Coach Atkins whenever he was promoted to co-offensive coordinator, he made it point blank clear, I'm learning under Mike Norvell. This puts me in a good spot to learn under him. I'm not coming in to be an offensive coordinator and be a play caller. Now, this is all on Mike Norvell, and this is what I'm actually excited for. He was able to do this. Going back, if you look at his days in Memphis, this is something that was put on him, there, and they found really, really lethal success. Sorry, Willie, for going there with that, but they found some really scary success on offense under his straight up play calling. There wasn't it felt more of a co offensive coordinator kind of situation with Kenny Dillingham in the fold. And I thought too, in some of those games, he was the main, play set caller for some of those. And that, I think that changed a little bit and things got off track. I don't think there was a relationship problem whatsoever. No, I think those two are very tight and close there. But on the football side, with some of the things that were going on in games, just didn't make sense to me. Some games you could definitely tell Mike is calling this one up, but then some games you're looking at them and you're like, something's being called from upstairs and it's quite obvious, Then it's kind of an argument on Twitter and Discords and everywhere if that's the case or not, but it's pretty point blank clear. Yeah, I thought Kenny Dillingham was involved in quite a bit of at least prepping for these games and then, calling plays and some of these games. And you could see a switch pretty quickly when Mike Norvell is not, whenever he's actually out there and calling some of these. So we'll see what ends up happening. But, Florida State's got to get wins to change anything. You got to get wins to bring in elite prospects that can come in and contribute right away.
You were talking about recruiting rankings, and a lot of people get a little bit too involved in the recruiting rankings, and that everybody's got to be like a top 5 or 10 at their position, and nobody signs a class like that. Go to Alabama's class, go to Ohio State's class, Georgia's class. They've got a number of 3 stars on the team that are going to become either program players or they're going to become really good players. There are plenty of 3 stars in the NFL, plenty of 3 stars that are, impact players or all conference players on teams. But yeah, you do need dudes. And it doesn't seem like a big deal between being, let's say, top 5 in recruiting and being more like top 15. It seems like, okay, well, just coach them up and be better coaches. And the recruiting rankings, they're not perfect. They're not completely accurate. Obviously, it's all a projection, but they're pretty damn close. Florida State's recruiting classes in 2013, 14, 15, and 16 were 4, 4, and 2. Those 3 recruiting classes, 4th, 4th, and 2nd in the nation in recruiting. That's miles away from being like 20. 20's good. That's good. You've got talent. That's a really good recruiting class, depending on what your goals are. If you're Louisville, if you're TCU, if you're Stanford, that's a really good recruiting class. If you're Florida State and you want to be who you were, you can have a 20th ranked recruiting class, and there can be a ton of dudes in that class that are definitely excellent players that you would want even if you had the number 1 class. But there's a good portion of that class, like a third of that class, that is totally different and nowhere close to what it was when you had a top 5 class. And again, they had 3 consecutive top 4 classes in the country. And another thing you said stuck with me, that, yeah, if you go to any of these recruiting classes, if you just go to the players, who were the top 100 players, 200 players, and you just look for Florida State's logo 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, you're going to see it pop up a lot more near the top and through that top 50, 100, 150 than you do now. Ohio State has had 3 top 50 players commit in the last 3 days. You used to see that out of Florida State.
Yeah, and things have changed quite a bit. I think it's been still air since maybe before the spring game for Florida State. Usually Florida State's able to get a lot of studs, and then they were able to get quite a few, but it's still air a little bit in Tallahassee right now, as it should be. And I'm glad it's that way, to be honest, because I think Florida State has kind of gotten played quite a bit and a little bit, and some of these recruitments. And, I wish recruits would, it's tough. These are young kids. I don't want to ruin a relationship with the coaching staff and, families and all of that kind of stuff. But, I wish they'd kind of say it point blank. I got to see Florida State win before I'm coming back for a visit, let alone I'll use one of my official visits. Let's just say it point blank. I saw this comment earlier. Fuente was gone 2016, I believe. Mike Norvell was able to take Memphis to the AAC championship and win that before heading over to Florida State. But I know that's a Miami fan in the comments, so easy to tell there that we are kind of a little bit behind there in the brain cells. But go back and look at some of what Mike Norvell was able to do at Memphis. I mean, he was the hottest, if not one of the hottest coaches during his time before coming to Florida State and taking that job here in Tallahassee. Sure, Fuente was able to bring in some talent there, but, Mike Norvell didn't come in until 2020, and he was able to bring some of that talent over and win an AAC championship and continue to bring them into New Year's Six bowl games. So just a fun fact there on the Mark Rogers College Football Show here.
There you go.